Hi guys! Today I want to share my number one in every makeup category based on my actual usage. So at the beginning of 2025, I started tracking my makeup uses. I was inspired by Too Much Tosh, who's been doing this for years, and I followed her spreadsheet setup video that she did, I think, like several years back. But I'll link it below if you're curious how I track my makeup usage. I basically just copied her. I started tracking my uses because I wanted to see how much I'm actually using everything because that was something I previously just kind of had to guess at. But now that I've started doing this, I don't think I'll ever go back, and I wish I'd started sooner because it has given me so much insight into my makeup usage habits. Now in this video, I'm only including products that are currently in my collection. So this doesn't include things that I've used up this year or things I've decluttered that may have possibly had even more uses than the products that remain in my collection. But especially in the case of products that I've panned, a lot of those were things that I was intentionally trying to use up. So a lot of those things would have kind of an artificially inflated number of uses, not because they're necessarily my favorites, but because I was just trying to use them up. So I think it makes sense that those things aren't included in this video. And it really does feel like this is a collection of true favorites. So I'm so excited to be able to actually have these numbers now. In the primer category, I actually only have one primer in my collection right now, and it's the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Niacinamide Hue Drops. So it's like their bronzing drop version of the original niacinamide dew drops. This I've used 15 times this year. I love this because I can use it by itself. A lot of bronzing drops are just way too pigmented for me on their own, and I would have to dilute them with a moisturizer or some other serum. But this I can just use by itself, and it just adds the perfect subtle bronze glow to my skin. It's great for helping my face match my body a little bit better when I'm self-tanned, and other times I just like it because it just adds a little life to my face. So really was blown away by this product. I didn't expect to like it as much as I do. Okay, I have to say, if you've noticed that my hair is a different length on either side, it's because it is. It's driving me crazy. I need to go get it fixed. But yeah, it's been uneven since I got it cut the last time, and I just feel like as it's grown out, it's gotten even more noticeable. So I tried to curl it more on the longer side than the shorter side, but anyway, it's driving me crazy. I thought about cutting it myself, but I really just don't trust myself to do a good job, so need to make a hair appointment very soon. My number one foundation right now is the Covergirl Clean Invisible Foundation. I've used it 22 times so far this year. This was my favorite foundation when I was a teenager, when I first started wearing makeup. This was my go-to back when it was in that glass pyramid-shaped bottle with the brown lid. I remember loving this foundation. Glad they switched it to a squeeze tube, although I will say, if this is a pet peeve for you, I just want to warn you that the cap gets super messy. I don't know what it is about the design, but it's just always leaking into the cap. I have not had it leak outside the cap. Just be aware of that. If that's going to be a deal breaker for you, you know, you may want to skip it, but I'm willing to look past that because for $7, I think this is amazing. This foundation is light coverage. They say that it's buildable. I would say you can build it to a light to medium. Like, it's not going to go much further than that. And I've found the best way to apply this is with my fingers. I don't like blending it in with a sponge because it is a very liquidy foundation, and I just feel like a sponge soaks up all the coverage. It can work well with a brush too, but I just love the way my fingers kind of just help it melt into my skin. And it's not every foundation that blends well with fingers, but this one really does. So I really just can't recommend this enough if you're looking for a good, affordable, light coverage, skin-like foundation. Also, side note, my skin has become oily all of a sudden. Ever since we moved to Philadelphia, my skin has just been so oily, which I'm not complaining. I would prefer to have oily skin over dry skin. But I mention that to point out that even going from a more dry climate in the summer to a more humid climate in the summer, this is working just as well for my skin. It just is a very agreeable foundation. I think it would work for a lot of different skin types. I used to have more combo leaning dry skin. Now it's just straight up oily. I still love it just as much as I always did. So if you haven't tried this yet, highly recommend. My number one concealer so far this year, other than the NYX Bare With Me, which I already panned, I used that over 100 times. This one I've used 25 times, and it's my most expensive concealer, so I'm really happy to see it getting good use. It's the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer. I have the shade N2. It is the tiniest bit too dark for me, and I honestly don't know if this concealer even comes in a perfect shade for me, because it really seems like all the shades lighter than this are just too light or the wrong undertone. So it's fine though, because A, it's perfect for when I am self-tanned, which we're getting to the end of self-tan season. I think pretty soon I'm just not going to be self-tanning anymore. But even when I'm not self-tanned, this can work well with my skin tone as long as I layer it with a brightening under eye corrector. That balances it out perfectly and it ends up matching my skin pretty well. So that's how I've been able to get a lot of use out of this. And I really do like this concealer. I think I'd like it even more if the shade were perfect, but I don't know if I like it more than the NYX Bare With Me Concealer Serum, which of course is a fraction of the price. They say that this is a brightening and hydrating crease-proof serum concealer, and it does have a nice serum-like texture similar to the NYX, except that this one does have a doe foot rather than a pump. It is a really nice formula. I see why so many people like this. It has good coverage. I wouldn't say it's full coverage, but I'm happy with the level of coverage it gives me under my eyes. Even though it is kind of serum-like, it still feels like it packs a punch on the under eyes. And I have to say, I don't see any creasing on my under eyes right now. So it is probably one of the least creasy concealers I've tried, and I think that can be attributed to its lightweight serum texture. And to go with that, like I said, I like to pair this with a brightening under eye corrector, and my number one has been for a while the NYX Pro Fix Stick Correcting Concealer in pink. This was the only color corrector I kept in my declutter. It's the only one I need. I love it. It's blurring, it's mattifying, and that is my preferred texture for an under eye corrector because I have dark circles, I have under eye bags, and this just smooths out any texture, any like shadows on my under eyes so much better than any kind of luminous under eye corrector, which so many of them are. So if you've been on the hunt for a more mattifying or blurring under eye corrector, this is perfect. It also comes in lots of concealer shades, but the pink shade is just the perfect light salmon toned under eye corrector for me. I absolutely love it. This I have used 19 times this year. My number one powder at 36 uses is the Tower 28 Get Set Pressed Powder in the shade Palisades Pink. I have really fallen in love with pink powders over the last couple of years. I just think they make such a difference on the under eyes, just further helping to cancel out dark circles, and there's just something so perfecting about just a subtle pink tint to the under eyes. So this powder, as you can see, is a very, very pale pink. Mine is cracking a little bit in the middle, so I'm probably gonna need to repress it because I fear that it's gonna fall apart. But I love how pale of a pink this is. I'm actually able to use it all over my face, which is what I did today, and I don't think my face looks too pink. I don't know, what do you think? Do I look pink? I think it kind of just looks like a translucent powder. Normally I use this just on the under eyes. Usually I prefer loose powders on my under eyes, but this is one of the few pressed powders I've tried that doesn't look crepey on the under eyes. It is just so smoothing and blurring. It has such a nice, just very soft velvety texture. And I've heard from some of you that it does crack easily, so that's the only thing. Definitely want to be careful with it, but I love it. So happy with this purchase. My number one bronzer is the Fenty Sunstalker bronzer in the shade Into Sun. This could be my only bronzer and I'd be happy. I've used this 35 times this year alone. I've had it longer than that, but if I could only have one bronzer, I think it would be this one. It is just the perfect shade. For a powder bronzer, this is just so smooth and blendable. I've said before, it really blends into the skin almost like a cream. Even though it's a powder, it just, like, it barely takes any effort to blend it. And it's just the right tone for me. It warms up my skin tone without looking orange, without looking unnatural. My number one blush this year, I actually just discovered this either at the very beginning of this year or late last year, but it's the What's Up Beauty Cicotere blush in the shade 10 Peaceful Pizza. I've used this one 15 times now this year. This is gorgeous. I love just looking at it in the pan because it's all these different colors mixed together. You have like a more baby pink, a warmer coral pink, a very bronzy peachy color, and then a blue. There's blue in here, which is so cool. With all these tones mixed together, it just turns into this beautiful neutral toned pink. It's the perfect pink. It's also a very light shade. This is the lightest shade it comes in, and one thing I've found this year is that I love light pale blushes because they are just impossible to mess up. When you have fair skin, it's just so easy to go overboard with blush, but this, it's like it just magically blends into my skin on its own, kind of like I was saying with the Fenty bronzer. This mix of shades is just perfect. It goes with any look, is what I have on today, and it actually has a slight satin finish. It's not totally matte, and I do notice on my cheeks especially, it gives just like a hint of a pearly satin finish. It's not shimmery at all. It's not like a blush lighter, but it just has a very natural glow. It's beautiful. My most used highlighter this year, I was actually surprised by this one. I mean, I've been tracking my uses all year in this spreadsheet, but I haven't necessarily been paying attention to what is the most used product. So when I went to gather up the products for this video, I was like, oh wow, I actually wasn't expecting that to be my most used highlighter. I've used it 12 times, and it's from Flower Nose from their Little Angel collection. This is their embossed highlighter in Eros's Fable. If you know, you know, Flower Nose has the most beautiful makeup ever. Like, their packaging is gorgeous. Most of their products are embossed as well. And I mean, I just can't get over how gorgeous this is. And even with the use that I've gotten out of it, I feel like the embossing still looks very new. Obviously, eventually it'll flatten out, but this is a gorgeous highlighter. It's not an in-your-face, blinding, metallic highlighter. It's not chunky, glittery either, but it is a little bit shimmery. Like, it has kind of that wet sparkle that I like to see in highlighters. Actually, you know, similar to that Spark Cosmetics highlighter I love so much, kind of a similar finish and texture to it. You can wear it more subtly, or you can build it up to look more intense, which really is what I like in a highlighter. I like to kind of have the option to go either way. And I was kind of surprised to find that my top 3 cheek products, blush, bronzer, and highlight, were all powders this time. In the eye primer category, we actually have a tie for my number 1. I've used both of these 17 times this year, and I have a lot of eye primers right now because I know I've been teasing it for such a long time, but I'm working on an eye primer showdown. And these two are definitely front runners to kind of give you a little sneak peek, but we have the Covergirl Lid Lockup Eyeshadow Primer and the Ulta Beauty Matte Veil Longwear Eyeshadow Primer. Now, unfortunately, it looks like Covergirl has discontinued this lid lockup, which makes me so upset because, like I said, it is a front runner in my eye primer showdown. It is a really good eye primer, so if you can find it, maybe you can find it on discount now that it's being phased out. But this is a really solid eyeshadow primer. I've actually used up one of these in the past. And it's funny, I've actually also used up the Ulta Beauty Matte Eye Primer in the past, and I don't think they reformulated this, but I like it better now than I remember liking it in the past. In the past, I found that my eyeshadows would still crease with this primer, but it just seems to perform better now. I don't know if they made it better or if my skin has just changed. I really don't know if they reformulated this. I know they did repackage it because the packaging used to look different, but it does feel and look the same as what I remember. I just find that these days I don't get creasing as much when I use it than I did in the past. So there is a big difference between these two. I do feel like the Covergirl Lid Lockup, this is a much tackier eye primer, and this one really doesn't have much coverage. It might just have like the slightest bit to help cancel out any discoloration, but I really don't feel like this covers much. The Ulta one, on the other hand, I do feel like it really helps blank out my eyelids, and it also has more of a smooth, matte finish. Once it dries down, I don't feel like I need to set this Ulta one with powder in order to get a good blend with my eyeshadows, whereas with the Covergirl, I do need to set just from the crease up. Otherwise, my mattes especially can go on a little bit patchy. Both of these, though, do a great job preventing creasing and fading, and I think they're both fantastic options just depending on what you're looking for. My number 1 brow product overall is the NYX Lipton Snatch Brow Tint Pen in the shade Taupe. I've now used this 126 times this year alone, and I've had it, I think I opened this mid-2024, so I've used this definitely over 200 times now. This thing lasts such a long time. I don't know when it's gonna run out. This has a nice small brush tip, which I like because it gives a pretty realistic hair-like stroke to the brows. I like to use this after I've applied brow gel, and I'm also working on a brow gel / brow glue showdown right now. I do think that will come out before the eye primer showdown, but I also wanted to share my number 1 brow gel at the moment, and it's actually one of my tinted brow gels. This is the NYX Thick It Stick It brow gel, and I have the shade Cool Blonde. This is great. I've used this 38 times this year, and I think the reason I've gotten so much use out of this is because it's just great for a quick brow. If I don't have time to fill in my brows with a brow pen, I can just use this, and it is pigmented enough to just kind of fill in my brows while also giving them a little bit of hold. Now, I do feel like this, for some reason, this is the second tube of this that I've had. I feel like something with the formula is different than I remember the first time I had it, because it used to have so much more hold. I swear, it was almost like too tacky sticky sometimes. Whereas this, to me, has medium hold at best. So if you're looking for something to laminate your brows or just like really stick them down to your face, this is not it. I used to feel like it did a better job at that. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but I still really like it for just quickly fluffing up and filling in my brows, especially when I'm in a hurry. I do feel like it's rare to find a tinted brow gel that has enough pigment to fill in my brows, but not too much pigment where it's getting messy and like just looking too dark. And this is like a very nice happy medium in terms of pigmentation. I do just wish it had a little bit more hold to it. So there's probably something out there that I would like better, but for now, this works really well for me. I don't always feel the need to follow this with a brow pen, but today I did, just to kind of fill in any sparse parts of my brows and also just make them look more symmetrical, because this brow comes in a little bit farther than this one. So I like to just kind of fake a few extra hairs over here on this side. Also, a side note, my brows are in their fully natural state right now. I haven't plucked them or trimmed them at all in months. So they are just living their best lives. I kind of just wanted to see like how full can my brows get just on their own. They're looking a little unruly up close, I will say. So I'll probably pluck them soon. But for now, I'm kind of enjoying the very full brow look. In the category of cream and potted eyeshadows, my number one right now is the e.l.f. No Budge eyeshadow stick in Copper Chic. I've only used it 7 times this year, which isn't that many compared to a lot of these categories' number one products. But I just have noticed, looking at this spreadsheet, that my cream and potted single shadows category is very overlooked, it seems. I think that's because I've really been focusing a lot on my palettes this year with my No Pan Left Behind project. So that's something I would like to work on, because I do love the category of single shadows. I love a one and done shadow, and that's what I love this for. This actually I've had for a few years now. I love this. This is my favorite shade of the e.l.f. No Budge shadow sticks. The packaging makes it look like it would be really dark and red, but I like to wear this all over the lid as a one and done shadow. I'll just put it all over and then blend it up into the crease, and it's perfect. It really makes my eyes pop, and it ends up looking like just a nice medium copper shade that is not too reddish orange. I don't like when copper eyeshadow gets into like reddish orange territory, but this is just like the perfect shade. I love it. Especially in the fall, I think I'll be getting a lot more use out of this. I do have this as my base today under the palette that I used, which my most used palette this year also happens to be my oldest palette, so I'm happy to see that. And it's the Anastasia Norvina Palette. I've used this 24 times so far this year. I would say that this has been one of my favorite palettes for a very long time. It's getting very old, but I just love what you can do with this. It has such a nice mix of ethereal pinks and purples, and then also some warm tones, some smoky tones that are great for fall. I did a very like fall smoky brown look today over that e.l.f. Copper Chic eyeshadow stick. Today I used the shade Base to set my lid from the crease up. That shade is almost gone. Then I used Incense in the crease, plus a little bit of Volatile in the crease in the outer corner. And then I used Dazzling all over my lid and a little bit of Dreamer in the inner corner. I absolutely love this palette, especially the shimmers. They are so foiled and just have such a nice texture even after all these years. They're still performing really nicely. It's definitely a well-loved palette. And then for setting spray, this is another category where I currently only have one product, so this is my one and only, and therefore number one. It's the Revolution Sport Fix Lasting Hold Fixing Spray. I love this setting spray. The sprayer is reliable, and it definitely helps my makeup last longer than it otherwise would. So definitely recommend this, or really any of the Makeup Revolution setting sprays. Makeup Revolution is definitely my go-to drugstore brand for setting sprays. They have a lot of different ones in their line, but this one is nice because it doesn't really have a scent to it. I don't think it has any fragrance. And I appreciate that, because a lot of times setting sprays, it smells like you're just spraying straight perfume onto your face. So this one is great. I've used it 25 times this year. My number one eyeliner, I'm happy to say, is the Fenty Fly Liner in the shade In Big Truffle. This is a liquid liner in a nice chocolate brown shade, And I bought this because Kelly Gooch recommended it as a true brown liquid liner. So many brown eyeliners and brown mascaras don't actually look obviously brown, but this is definitely a brown mascara. It doesn't dry down to like a darker, almost black brown. It stays that really nice chocolate brown color. Yeah, I love the shape of the felt tip because I can just easily draw a wing either by flicking it out or just kind of stamping it on, depending on how dramatic of a wing I'm going for. Yeah, I love this. I don't usually buy high-end eyeliners, but this is one I actually think is worth it. When it comes to mascara, I only have one right now. I've used this one 22 times this year, and I do like it. It's the Revolution Wrap Lash Mega Extension and Volume Tubing Mascara. I have the shade Black. I saw they also do have a brown shade of this. After using this over 20 times this year, I've concluded I don't like this as much as the e.l.f. Lash Extender. The e.l.f. Lash Extender, if I still had that, it would be my number one because I've actually used up 2 this year for a total of 77 uses on that one. So that would definitely be my most used if I still had it. And I do like that one better than the Revolution. Like I said, I do like this Revolution one, but it is not the best for separation and it has kind of a sticky formula. So sometimes when I apply it, I get it on there, it looks great, my lashes are really long, dramatic, love it. But then, like as I blink, my upper lashes will kind of get stuck with my lower lashes, and then my upper lashes will sometimes kind of clump into sections, and I'll have to physically go in with like my tweezer tip or something and separate them back out because they just will kind of clump together. So I would not say that this is the best if you're looking for a mascara with separation, but it is very nice and lengthening. And like a true tubing mascara, it also is nice and easy to remove with warm water, and I haven't noticed any flaking with this yet. So I do like it, but I would have to say when I run out of this, I will go back to the e.l.f. Lash Extender. In the lip category, for lip liners, I also have a tie for my number one. I've used both of these 10 times this year, and we have the Wonderskin 360 Contour Lip Liner in the shade Saddle, which is just my kind of nude pink. And then the other number one is the NYX Duck Plump Plumping Lip Liner in Subtle Touch. This does have a little bit of a kick to it. It does have that kind of plumping, slightly burning sensation on the lips. I don't find it unbearable. And maybe it's placebo effect, but I do feel like it gives me a little bit of a plumped up look just because of whatever, I'm guessing it's capsaicin that they have in here to give it that burning feeling. If you have really sensitive lips or you don't like that feeling, definitely skip this one, but I kind of enjoy it. So this is NYX Subtle Touch and this is Wonderskin Saddle. They're pretty similar, but the NYX one is a little bit more of a brownie nude and the Wonderskin one is a little bit more, it's got a little more pinky peach to it. I'm really not picky when it comes to lip liners. I pretty much like them all. So I wouldn't say that there's anything about these two formulas that is like worlds better than anything else I've tried. This is just the kind of shade that I reach for all the time, and these two have ended up being the most used so far in my collection. Of course, not including the ones that I've panned this year, those I did use more. My number one lip gloss is the e.l.f. Sun Boss Gloss. I love this. I have not been able to stop talking about it for the past year. This is in the shade Blush Much, and this I cannot recommend enough. It is so hard to find an SPF lip product that doesn't taste like sunscreen, but this is a fully mineral lip sunscreen with SPF 25, and it really just feels like any other lip gloss. So it just makes it so easy to protect your lips from the sun. I love keeping this in my purse and just applying it when I'm on the go. It has kind of a like light coconutty scent, and I love the shade. It's like a My Lips But Better pink color. I've used it 36 times just this year so far, and I just love it so much. I would love to see more brands come out with all mineral SPF lip glosses. I just feel like there aren't that many on the market. And last but not least, my most used lipstick this year is the Queen Musea Matte Cream Lipstick in the shade Dorian. This is what I've been wearing throughout this video over the NYX Duck Plump lip liner. I love pairing this with a kind of brownish beige nude lip color like this NYX Duck Plump in Subtle Touch, because this is such a nice, unique color to me. As you can see, it's this kind of bright yet muted, warm, pinky coral shade. So unique. I mean, it might not seem that unique in the swatch, but I swear I have never found a lip color quite like this. This line of Queen Musea lipsticks, they sent me a bunch of their shades a long time ago. They really do have a lot of unique lip colors. On top of the packaging being gorgeous, it has that kind of soft touch matte feel to it. I absolutely love it. I think these are definitely kind of a more expensive lipstick, but if you want to treat yourself to a really nice fancy lipstick, I highly recommend. And for a matte lipstick, it really is very creamy, very comfortable to wear, and I just love the color. It's so flattering, and this I've used 13 times this year. So there we have it, my number one in every category. I've done this video in years past, but I've never been able to actually base my choices on actual usage. I don't necessarily think that my favorite products always correlate exactly to my most used products, but in this case, looking at all of these products combined, I really do think that these are some of my top favorites, at least at the moment. But that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you very soon in my next video. Bye!